What's up, internet? So today we're working on my C10. So off camera, I got the engine, the new engine and the new transmission mounted into the truck. And for anybody who wants to swap to a newer 5-speed, that's what I did. Now this transmission, I went with an NV3500. They were primarily used, oh, and Tucker wants to come say hi. Say hi, Tucker. Well, he wants to be part of the video too. But, so the NV3500, it was commonly used in later model S10s. They had the T5, then they went to the NV3500, which was NV stands for New Venture. And then they were also used in the later model C1500s, or old body style OBS trucks. That was from like 1989 or 1990 to about 1996 or 97, and then 98, 99 they went with the later model trucks. Anyways, so I went with this transmission. One, for affordability. Would I have loved to put a T56 in this? Absolutely. Double overdrive. I've had a T56 in a couple Camaros, a road race Camaro that I built and all that, and it is amazing, especially if you have enough power in your engine. 6 gear, even with a deep gear ratio, you're cruising the highway like it's nothing. But they're expensive. Even used T56, especially ones that are going to fit a Gen 1 small block, they can get real pricey real quick. TKX, another awesome choice. They're rated to 600 foot-pounds, multiple shifter locations, all that. But again, pricey. So the NV3500, I was able to pick up a good used one for about, I think, $200 or $300. I mean, and that is a steal. They range right around 800 bucks. And you can use one out of a V6 truck. The mounting and offset and everything is the same. You cannot use them out of, I believe they put them behind the Dodge Dakotas, because New Venture, they kind of teamed up with Dodge and Chevy. You can't use those because I believe the pilot bushing is different, but obviously the bell housing pattern is different. But the 4.3 V6 ones, they will bolt behind a Gen 1 small block and all that. And with it bolted in, I still need to adjust the cross member, which is one thing we're doing today. I will say that the shifter location is money. Let me show you. So again, on my truck, I'm lucky since it was a factory 4-speed. It has the removable hump. It makes working here a lot easier, and the transmission is just sitting on the cross member, but it's not lined up with the actual mount. But if you can see, this shifter location is perfect. Like, it's right off the bench. First gear, you're right here by that. All the gears are right where they need to be. It's nice that it's just a straight shifter, whereas the factory, you can kind of see on the hump there, this is where our shifter will come out. That's where it did. The shifter was up here and it had this S-curve bend in it to clear the dash and get through all the gears. But this is, talk about ergonomics, this is going to be so comfortable to drive. I've still got plenty of room between the dash. It's not like I'm going to be punching the dash. Downshifting, I still have plenty of room. Now, if you're really short, this might become a problem, like if you have to move the seat way forward. But with C10s, the cab is fairly tight in here, but this is just, it's going to be awesome right where it needs to be. So I've got that bolted down, at least the shifter and everything. Like I said, I need to move the transmission cross member back where the mounting is from the old SM465 to the new NV3500. It's about a 6-inch difference. So there's plenty of aftermarket cross members that will work great. I'm going to see if I can just slide that cross member back, because I know the stud will fit the hole just fine, and then just drill new mounting holes. So I'm going to support the transmission and then move that cross member back and see if I can get it where it needs to be. But so far, like with where it's going to be positioned as far as shifter and everything, it's going to be perfect. So let's go under the truck and see what we can figure out. All right, so we are underneath the truck, and as you can see here is the cross member with the mounting hole and everything. And here's the stud, so it needs to move back. That's probably closer to 8 inches. But move back, and that will also, because you can see it's sitting up here, this will drop it down, which will help with our drive shaft angle and some other stuff. But looking at it, it's going to be kind of a pain. So we've got the 2 bolts here. Then we also got 2 bolts up here. And then on the other side, it's kind of a C-type deal. If you look, so the transmission mount bolts there, but then it kind of, or not C's, but Y's to go over the C channel. So it doesn't just sit on the frame. Luckily, I think, not so much on this side. We do have the mount for this that we got to worry about, but that side it kicks up a little bit more, but I think we have enough flat spots that it's going to be fine as far as how far it goes back to where it'll be fine. And then I did not put this exhaust in, but I do not like how this sits on top of the exhaust and how that's going to be there. So I might have to loosen this because it's also got a slight bend to it for the parking brake. But yeah, probably gonna redo that and put this above the exhaust and have this probably sit above the transmission once it drops down. So again, this is kind of the first time I've got everything fitted, and I wanted to at least get the transmission in here, but it at least gives us an idea of what needs to be changed and where things need to go. So we'll start working on that, and I might cut out some of this exhaust because I've got headers and this was for manifolds. So if I cut right where it goes into a flat spot, get rid of that, just give me some more working room. And then I also got to get rid of the Z-bar for the mechanical clutch linkage because this transmission is hydraulic. All right, so some quick progress. Got the Z-bar out. And that was, what was that? That was right here. And it's just a bolt or a nut on the back side there. Luckily, it's kind of a pain just because you have to go between. So it goes into that bracket, and then you got the fender here, and just there's not a lot of room, and hand doesn't fit up there, but that out, and then got the exhaust pipe out, so we'll have plenty of room for the headers. We'll get the speedo cable out because we're going to an electronic speedo. And that pipe I got loose, but it's not coming out because it is pinched on the top side, so I'm gonna have to fight that out. If nothing, I'll at least just cut it for now right there after the bend, and then kind of figure out where I need to go from there. But some progress and that done before I start getting into this cross member. And the thing I'm worried about is getting the mounting holes lined up where they need to be and drilling new holes up on the top part here, because I don't know if it's going to interfere with where the body, actually that's not the body, that's just a heat shield for where the old catalytic converter would have been, because they would have had those big GM pancake style ones. So I probably could just unbolt that. I don't have to worry about that anymore, which is probably a good idea. I don't really need that. So work on that, getting this big thing out of there, and it'll just give us more room for activities. Always good to have more room for activities. Okay, so what you're seeing here is this, I can't remember exactly what they call it. I think they just call it an engine brace or support, but use these a lot when you're pulling stuff and you just want to support the engine. I'm using it to support the transmission. It's got these long screws with these hooks, and then I've got a piece of chain looped underneath the transmission, and then you just tighten it up and it'll help lift the transmission away. I'm lucky because I have the removable hump. I'm able to do this. You could do the same thing with like a floor jack or some wood or whatever, but since I have a buddy who had one of these and wasn't using it, and I have the access to do it, that'll lift the transmission away from the cross member, and that way I can adjust the cross member however I need it and get it exactly where it needs to be, and get it set. I don't have to worry about a floor jack or anything in my way down there. All right, so some progress. So I've got it loosely bolted in. I've got the stud bolted there, and then luckily these back two holes that went through there seem to line up with these front two holes. So I got that going in there to at least kind of locate it. It seems to be straight side to side, and then I'll just have to drill through the bottom there. Where am I at? Drill through the bottom of the frame for the bolts that came down through the top. It's not there, and then I'll have to get a stubby drill bit to drill the side of the frame for the bolts up there, and I can just measure back how far those holes are from the original holes there, and then match those up with the bolts up there. So looks like I'll be able to reuse this cross member, which is good because I know Speedway Motors makes a really nice, like super adjustable one for C10s, but it's like $200, and if we can save $200 and utilize stuff, that's good. And if we only have to drill a couple holes, that makes it even easier. I will want to point out that everybody talks about engineers nowadays being dumb. I want to know what engineer thought of this. So these bolts come down from the top, and you can see there's like a little notch in the body for those bolts to go up, but they do not go up. Does not matter what angle I push these at, they do not come out. And I've even put a pry bar in there and pry it against the body a little bit to give it some extra room. No bueno. So I don't know, I mean, the nuts are on the bottom of it, so you can get the nuts off, and the way the cross member came off, it dropped down, but that just seems like a dumb design to me. It's like, if you're already gonna put the bump in the body, make it a bigger bump so you can get those bolts out if you need to, because if they rust out, then you're gonna have, or like something gets damaged with them, then you have to cut those off, take the heads off, and then fish a nut onto the top part of the frame and run the bolt up that way, and just, I don't know, seems like a not so smart decision. Of course, I'm sure this was all assembled and then the body and cab were dropped onto this, so it made sense at the factory, but hey, even shows back in the 80s, engineers hated mechanics. Okay, so like I said, got the cross member kind of roughed in. I'm gonna try flipping the trans mount just because it's kind of binding up, and I want to use those two existing holes in the frame, just because the new holes would be so close that I just don't want to have these big slotted parts of the frame. So hopefully that'll prevent it from binding up. I got to drill the other holes, but it's kind of loose in there, but it's still being hung by that chain and that cross member, which is okay for now. So I got to head into work for a minute, deal with something, and then hopefully be back out, keep working on the C10, at least get the motor set in place kind of permanently. So as you can see, the motor sits in there real nice, plenty of room. Obviously, if you wanted to go big block or something, there's plenty of room for that. With the Z-bar out and everything, you see I'm gonna have tons of room for the headers. And same thing on this side, tons of room, even with the old school starter that's larger. I should have plenty of room in there. So it's coming along slowly but surely. All right, so transmission cross member is roughly bolted in. So again, I used the holes that were there. The back holes now are the front holes. That is a stock 93 C 1500 mount. I flipped that around, which offset it enough to line up there. And then I just had to drill new holes down here for this. And I'll drill some new holes up there for that. But she's at least sitting in there. I've got all the tension off the cross piece, so it is sitting in there. I'm going to drill the other set of mounting holes there, the ones on this side, but you can at least see that she's in there, which is awesome, because that will help kind of set everything up. I can at least see where the exhaust and other stuff is going to go, start working off that. So as you can see, different colored shirt because it's a different day. Work obviously took longer than what I needed to, so I had to come back. But the cross member, like I showed you, is mostly in there. So I think I'm gonna call it for today, because again, more stuff with work to get done. But we will be back on the C10. Hopefully, I don't think I have too many more parts I need to buy for it. Can get kind of stuff rolling and get this bad boy fired up, because I'm really excited. It sounds like a dumb thing, but like I showed you, sitting in this truck with where the shifter is going to be, it's going to be really comfortable and a cool, fun truck when it's done. So, until next time, go fix something in your garage.